Hi, and welcome to Understanding the Australian Solar on Strata Market. So first of all, solar on strata is an early stage industry in the Australian market. When we look at solar on rooftops of houses, there are 3.5 million installations, and it's approaching 30% of all houses that have rooftop solar. And that's the highest per capita in the world. But when we look at our strata apartment buildings, we're at a much earlier stage. We're probably at about the same point in 2023 that rooftop solar on standalone houses was at in 2009. So in terms of the growth curve, we're still in the introductory phase where there are hundreds of solar installs on strata buildings, but not thousands or millions. And this will go through a growth curve, and we will move towards maturity over time, following the path that solar has taken on individual houses. Now, a famous management framework that's taught in a lot of business schools around the world is the Porter's 5 forces. So what we've done here is we've applied the Porter's 5 forces model to the Australian strata solar installers market. So in the middle of the model, we have the market which we are examining, and that's the solar installers, the tradespeople that are doing the labor of installing solar systems on strata buildings. And we look at the other forces that are impacting and affecting this particular market of strata solar installers in Australia. So what we're saying is there's actually a low industry rivalry inside this particular market at the moment. And to give you an idea, there are over 7,461 registered solar installers in Australia. And about 38 of those we are aware of have actually done an install of a solar system on a strata apartment building. And there are no strata solar installers that only do installs on strata buildings. There's just not a big enough market for any one solar installer to be a specialist on installing solar on strata apartment buildings. And for that reason, the solar installers that have put their toe in the water and done an install of solar on a strata building will also install on residential houses. They'll install on commercial factories, industrial sites, on sports centers, airports, or they'll make solar farms in regional areas. So all of those other solar installs are better margin jobs than working on strata buildings themselves. So if I had to describe what the solar installers that are doing some solar installs on strata buildings are doing, it's actually just taking a wait and see approach and keeping their toe in the market, waiting for the point at which that market might take off. So if we are a strata scheme customer, so for example, if we are a strata committee and we want to buy from a solar installer, then there is actually low bargaining power for the strata scheme at this point in time. And the reason for that is we represent a one-off customer. There's no repeat business for that solar installer. These solar installers have worked with strata before, and they know that strata are slow to make decisions, and they consume a lot of time, a lot of their bandwidth, asking a lot of questions, a lot more questions than a simple household installing rooftop solar would ask. And quite often the strata scheme will do the investigation work, and then make a decision not to proceed with solar at all, because a vote's needed of all owners in the building, and there's a risk point for any solar installer that's quoting for a strata building that vote might not pass with enough votes being cast in favour for the motion to carry. So if we also have a look, are there threats of new entrants into this market? And the threat of new entrants is actually low. So what a new entrant could be like a wind turbine business, geothermal. I'm only aware of one strata scheme in Australia that's experimented with geothermal pool heating. Prefabricated racks of solar panels, such as sol pods, or prefabricated power nests like we've seen in Holland, which are a combination of wind turbines and solar panels, which are craned to the rooftop. None of these are posing a great threat to solar PV being installed at the current time. If we look at the threat of substitute services, there might be a medium threat to the strata solar installation industry from something like green power. An owner's corporation, a strata body corporate, could just buy certified green power from an energy retailer, and so could all the individual apartment owners, rather than installing a local renewable solar PV system. And there's a little bit of movement around off-site solar, where either individual apartment owners or an owner's corporation or a body corporate could actually buy a set of solar panels that are in an off-site location in part of a solar farm, and be remunerated for buying off-site solar. And then finally, who has the highest amount of bargaining power in this entire industry? Well, it's actually the product suppliers. So when we say product suppliers, companies that sell solar panels, mounting equipment, inverters. And if you think about it, there's only one solar panel manufacturing facility in Australia at the current time. It's in South Australia, and it doesn't create a high output of solar panels. So all the products actually have to come and be imported from overseas. And a lot of the solar installers that are in our market that we're looking at in the middle, the Strata Solar Installers market, they don't have large warehouses to warehouse a lot of this equipment. So they are dependent on the bargaining power of solar product suppliers who really don't mind whether they sell solar equipment to a commercial solar installation, a grid scale solar installation, a residential house, or a strata building. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a better perspective around where we're at in the strata solar industry and what the dynamics and the forces are. And it will also help us as owners corporations or strata committees understand that we don't have a lot of bargaining power when we're negotiating with solar installers that might be able to install on our particular apartment building. Thank you.